-3 and 14. Okay, and then so that's this point. We'll call that point B. And so the first one would be easier to call point A, right? And that one's not that bad. In fact, I'm going to make that one a green one. And make that a 1. Let's try to be on the scale. 1 and then up 2. Okay? And then we'll draw a line through these. Okay, so I'm going to come down like that. Go up. Go down. It goes up to infinity, right? And all these points, there's an infinite amount of points in here that create that line. But what we want to do is get the equation of the line. So what's our goddess equation? The goddess equation is
y equals mx plus b.
Woohoo! We got that.
Man, got it. All right, so with this equation, you know, we know, but we need to know some things about it. So we have the x and y's. We get that. There's a lot of x's and y's, right? So those are going to stay variables. Get it? They variable. They vary. So they're variables. But the m and the b, they're constant. But we need to know what they stand for. So what does m stand for?
Rise.
Rise.
Overrun.
Overrun. Good. Which is slope, I heard someone else say.
Yeah, that's what I call it.
Perfect. And then what's B?
Starting point.
The starting point. We like that name. What's another name for B? Fancy name. Yes, where it crosses at the y-axis, and then we use a fancy name calling it the y-intercept. Just where it crosses at the y-axis. So right now I see it crosses somewhere around 5 or 4, but it looks like it's 5. So, but I'm only as the art's only as good as the artist, right? Mm-hmm. So even though I think it's 5, so B may equal 5. B may equal 5. We're not sure, but we think it does. How do we find out if it does? Well, we need to figure out the slope, I guess, right? And we can find the slope. We have 2 points, right? We have this point, we have this point, right? And the slope is rise over run. And there's a fancier way to find the slope, right? It's the delta y over delta x, meaning the change in y over the change in x. Remember when we looked at it, we were like looking at this. This is the change in y. Okay. And this is the change in x. Okay? And so we can just count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and go up to 14, right? But I need to start from here, so I guess I would count from there up. Okay? Or we can do that whole formula thing. And there's a formula you haven't learned yet. But I taught you the flip and smack it method, right? And the flip and smack it method was basically what's happening is delta y over delta x is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Sure. Yep.
You just plug in the numbers.
And then you're just plugging in these x,
Yeah, you just plug in the
y,
numbers.
x, y. This is 2 and this is 1. And we could just plug in those numbers in that equation, solve it. But a lot of times with our dyslexia, math dyslexia, we plug in backwards, and I am too. And so that's why I taught myself going through math classes how to remember things. Yeah.
Hey, wait. I didn't learn those little sub thingies.
Subs?
Those little two on the bottom instead of the
But
top.
they're just subs. They're instead of powers, they're called subs.
They're just
Sub
like
numbers.
variables along the line.
Yeah, you're going to have an infinite amount of x's,
Okay.
right? But right now we have 2 points.
Along the same line.
Yeah. So the way I would look at this is I would take these 2 points and I use the flip it, smack it method. And the flip it meaning, and this comes back to the whole wrestling thing, you know, where you flip somebody, right, and they smack on the ground. No. It actually comes from that whole daughter thing. When I said, you know, when somebody grabs you from behind, you flip around, okay? So you flip so that the y is on top and the x is on the bottom, okay? So all you're doing is just flipping it like this. So you got 2 over 1 and 14 over negative 3. And then, once you flip around and you see that that's a stranger, you punch in the face, you kick in the groin, and you run.
What? Are you getting robbed?
Well, it's my daughter. She's 9. If someone grabs her from behind,
Okay.
it's how she can stay safe,
Gotcha.
right? So I like to use red because negative, slapping is kind of negative. And what it does is, if the person was a good person, it makes them kind of mad, and they're negative. But if the person is a bad person, it puts it into a positive, like, stay away. And then the whole running part is just kind of thinking about the fraction and remembering that this is the delta y over delta x. It's the change that's occurring. And when I do this math, I get negative 12 over, and negative makes a positive, so I get a positive 4. And when you do that math, you get negative 3 is equal to m. And that is your slope. Now it is 3 over 1, right? Negative 3 over 1. Because if we look at this, what's happening here is that it's going negatively in some direction. So let's think of it as my rise. So I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, right? And I'm going to go right, because that's negative 3, and right 1. And so that kind of fits, doesn't it? The line. And it should. It should fit exactly.
Okay, I have to back up here because I would have got lost on the bottom there. When you go 1 minus a minus 3,
Yeah.
then anytime you see a minus in front of a minus, you're adding, it becomes positive. So
Yeah.
it's 1 plus 3
Roll that bad boy in there.
makes it a
4.
4. Got it. I just had
Okay.
to double do that one.
Good. Yeah, it's
Okay.
that gets confusing, but this is also why I like to see you use colored pencils. So when you draw this in one color and you draw this in another, you see that they are different lines. So you see that there are 2 negatives, and 2 negatives make a positive. Okay? So we have the slope. We know
That's
what
when
the
you're
slope
adding.
is. It's, yeah. When you're adding. So instead of, if I subtract a negative 3, so if I say you owe me $3, and then I say, that means you owe me $3, right? But if I say you don't owe me $3, what does that mean?
That means
0.
you don't owe me anything.
You don't owe me $3, right? So you still have that $3 in your pocket, though. So you have $3 right there.
But if you don't look to you.
But if I say you owe me it, then you owe me it, right? But if I say you don't owe me it,
Then you still have it.
then you still have the $3. Okay? It's kind of like saying, I'm not going to the store.
Double negative.
I'm not going to the store just means that I'm going to the store. And these politicians use this connotations all the time. They don't say it that simply. I'm not going to raise taxes. They don't say it like that. But they'll say like, I will not raise taxes as long as, you know, and put a little, you know, thing on there. Okay? Same thing. It's a double negative. You know they're going to raise taxes because they need the money.
Yeah.
So they have to raise taxes. They're just not going to raise those taxes. So I'm not raising taxes on the rich. Or, yeah, I'm going to raise taxes, but, and so on.
Could you do us a favor then, maybe on, what's the thing? Could you, like, bring us a few of those little helping us to find the slope without the graph, like doing the delta y over delta x? Real elementary type stuff, please.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
They're in your book though too.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Page.
And I'll get you a worksheet on it.
Have you seen this book?
On the points A and point B, point A, you have the 1 and the 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's a long one.
The number that comes first is always on the Y or on the X.
Mm-hmm.
And the second number is on the Y always. Is that always?
Yes. Well, you can put this one first.
But then it would be on
Negative
the X.
3, 14, and 1 and 2, and then because that's a good question.
We'll get on that.
And then flip it and flip it,
we've been
and
on
then
the
14
same problem
over
for
negative
like
3 and 2 over
15
1,
minutes. We're not getting out of this.
and then. Oh, you guys thought you were getting out early, but you never
We
did.
know better.
We're gonna.
12 over minus 4, and 12 over minus 4 is minus 3. So either way you do it, you still get the negative 3 as your slope. Okay? So now once you have your slope, let me move on.
Please.
Okay? Once you have your slope, now you got to find your b. How do you find your b? And you need to grab the easiest point. The easiest point doesn't mean the first point. The easiest point means the one that has the lowest numbers, the easiest numbers. If you think 3 and 14 are easier, then use negative 3 and 14. But I think 1 and 2 are easier. So I'm going to use 1 and 2. And the way I do this is I have y equals mx plus b. That's my Goddess equation. I'm going to plug in x and y. My y is 2. My x is 1. What's my m?
Minus 3 over 1.
Minus 3 over 1 if you want.
Yeah.
Okay? Now I do the math. 2 is equal to negative 3 plus b. And now we go back to that whole solving. Right?
Yep.
So we try to get b more alone. Okay? By doing the opposite to both sides. And we get negative 1 equals b. So if I have b and I have m, and I know that y equals mx plus b, then I also know that y is equal to negative 3x minus 1. And that is my equation. Now, the next problem is it's linked to this one. So we want to go on to that.
Why did you do a minus 3?
Because of the m. The m. Negative 3 is the m. That's why I feel like I did it.
Well, then, if you're going to get rid of that 3, wouldn't you add a 3 instead of a minus a 3?
Yes, you add 3. Sorry.
Okay. I was
Yeah,
like,
I was like, what is
Sorry. I'm trying to speed things up, and there I go making mistakes.
Okay.
5. And so this would be plus.
No, I think I
5.
really screwed up.
Sorry. Thank you, student being the teacher. Okay. So, yes, we're going to add, we do the opposite, and I said the opposite. I don't know why I did the same. But I was testing. That's what teachers do.
I was wondering if you were
We
doing
we
that.
want to make sure you're following along.